So this is 6.1, B as in boy, elementary algebra, the greatest common factor and factoring by grouping. We're off to example number 4 here. And this one is pretty easy compared to some of them that we've done up to this point because I got a little bit ahead. So there's my binomial. And what you're supposed to do is called factor. Okay, factor means take the answer, take the product, and divide it into at least two terms multiplied together that are going to give us our product back. So that's what we're looking for. So basically what we just did. And what I would suggest doing is just making a parenthesis and saying, all right, what is the biggest number that goes into both 3 and 15? Well, it's kind of simple to look at that because the biggest number that goes into 3 is 3, and since it also goes into 15, we're doing good. So once I pulled the 3 out of here, what do I have left? Well, remember on the last one I said we always have 1 as a factor. So what do I have left when I pulled the 3 out? I've got a 1x left. What do I have when I pulled the 3 out of the 15? I have 5. And there's my answer. I factored it. Okay? There's my greatest common factor, and there is what is left. So, one way you can check these is to distribute that 3 times 1x and the 3 times negative 5, and you should get that back. If you do, then you did it correctly. All right, so we're going to do a bunch of problems here, a bunch of examples that'll get you used to factoring the greatest common factor out. So 5x cubed minus 15x squared. Okay, now again, let's just do this just because we can. I'm going to factor the numbers into their product of primes like that. And then it makes it easy because then I just find what's the smallest, what's common to both of them. 5s are the only two numbers that are common to both of them, well, besides the 1, but whenever you multiply 5 times 1, you get 5, so you really don't have to worry much about that. All right, so when I pull a 5 out of here, what do I have? I have my 1 left. When I pull this 5 out of here, what do I have? See what happens with the product of primes? I can look and see what I have left, a 3 times 1. Okay? Now I'm going to look at my variables. I'm going to look at my letters here, my x cubed and my x squared. What is the smallest exponent? An x squared. So I'm going to pull my x squared out, and what do I have left here? I pulled 2 of them out, I have 1 left. Pulled 2 of them out, I have none left. And I get that for an answer. Now you can just get rid of this 1 here. Anytime there's a 1 in front of a letter, you can just make it go away. And there is your factored expression there that when you multiply, you're going to get that back. Okay, so let's look at example number, where are we, 6. 16x to the 5th minus 20x to the 4th plus 8x cubed. All right, so again, I'm going to write these as product of primes, and then my x to the 5th. That a little bigger. All right, so I'm just going to look at the numbers here. If it helps to underline them, do that. All right, so what is the commonality between each of those underlined? And what you'll notice is I have 4 2's here, but I don't have 4 here or 4 here. So I look at the 2's occur the least often here. So I know that that is the number I'm going to pull out because I can pull it out of here and I can pull it out of here. Okay? And I have a 5 here, but since it doesn't occur here or it doesn't occur there, I can't pull it out. So what I do is I'm going to pull what I put in a box out, and I pulled out 2 2's. 2 times 2 is 4. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put what's left. I have a 4 left there, I have a 5 left there, and I have a 2 left there. Okay, so that took care of all of the numbers. So we can I don't know if this helps or makes it more confusing, me scribbling out what we're done with so you don't have to look at them anymore. Now I'm going to look at the x's. I look at the one that occurs the least often, and that's the one I pull out. And I look and see how many I have left if I pull 3 out of there. And how many I have left if I pull 3 out of there. And how many have I left? I pull all of them out of there. I don't have any left. So there ends up being your answer then. Okay, so let's go to example 7, and of course they're going to make them a little bit more tricky. They're going to throw some negative symbols in there and try to show you all the different options you can run into. All right, so notice that the leading term is negative. Okay, so what we're going to do when that leading term is negative is we are going to say that there is a negative in all 3 of these. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the negative and pull it out. Okay, just like we did a greatest common factor. We'll take that out. And then we're going to rewrite this with all the signs changed. Okay, so how can I do that? Let's look at this. Because if I take this negative and multiply it times this, negative times this gives me negative this. Negative times a positive gives me a negative. A negative times a negative gives me my positive back. So what I did is I pulled a negative out of here, made a parenthesis, and the only thing you have to do is change the sign of everything in here. Okay? So remember before when we had a negative out here, when we took the parentheses off, we could take the parentheses off only if we change the sign of everything in here. Okay, so it's the same thing. We pull a negative out, we change the sign. We put a negative in, we change the sign. So whenever you're messing with negatives coming in or out of parentheses, you just change the sign of everything in there and you're good. All right, so that makes it easier for us. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that negative out there, and I'm going to write this as 2 times 3 2 times 3 times 3. And I get that. Product of primes. All right, now I'm going to look and see how many times my numbers occur. 2 occurs once, twice. So since it occurs once is the lowest number, I can just pull one of them out. Now let's look at the 3's. There's a 3 here, there's 2 here, and there's 1 here. So the least amount of time it occurs is once, and once. So I'm going to take those numbers that I have circled there and pull them out. And I'm left with x cubed y plus 3x squared y squared minus 2xy cubed. Okay, so see what I have left here, here, and nothing there is what I have left that I put in my parenthesis. Now let's look at the variables. Let's go ahead and make this a 6. All right, so smallest variable. I've got an x cubed, an x squared, and an x. So the x has the smallest exponent. So I'm going to pull that x out, and I'm going to write what I have left. If I pulled an x out of the 3, I have 2 left. If I pull an x out of this one, I have 1 left. If I pull an x out of this one, I have none left. Okay? Now I'm going to look at my y's. I've got a y here, 2 there, and 3 there. So the smallest exponent is a y, and I pulled that one out. I'm pulling one of those y's out here, leaving me with 1. So I just cross that out, and there's still 1 there. And I pulled 1 out here, and that leaves me with 2. So my final answer is negative 6xy times x squared plus Okay, so now again, if I were to take this and if I were to multiply this here times each one of these terms here, then I would go ahead and get my original answer way the heck back up here. Okay, so that is a continuation of factoring the greatest common factor. So let's jump to one more, example 8. All right, greatest common factor. So again, I'm going to write this as 3 times 1. And you'll probably get to a point where you don't need to do all of this, where you can just look at the 3, the 6, and the 9 and be like, oh yeah, 3 goes into all of those, and you'll be good. But to begin with, it's kind of a good idea to write your prime factors there. And then I can say, oh, I have a 3 common here, here, and here. Okay, so I'm going to pull a 3 out. Do I have anything else common? I've got a 1 here, a 2 here, and a 3 here. So nothing else is common. So the numbers that are left, in fact, let's make a parenthesis and put those numbers there. I've got a 1, a squared b minus a 2 plus a 3, which is that one. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my letters. I have 2 there, 3 there, and 3 there. So the lowest exponent is that one, so I'm going to bring that a squared out. That one goes away. 2 of these go away and leave me with 1. 2 of these go away and leave me with 1. Okay? Now let's look at the b's. I have 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. So the one that occurs the least is the b. So pull that one out, and there's nothing here. But notice, we still have that 1 there. So we need to remember that. We also pulled one of the b's here and one of the b's here, leaving us with 2. So we have 3a squared b times this 1 minus 2ab plus 3ab, and there were 3 there, and we took 1 away, so we have a squared there. So we end up with that. Okay, so it's just going to take some practice, and maybe for some of you this came really easy. And maybe it would have come really easy for some of you, except I'm terrible at explaining it, which I don't think I am, but different personalities kind of understand this from different teachers a different way. So anyway, we're going to do factoring by grouping in a third video because I don't think I can do it in 2 minutes. So 6.1c is coming up.